All right, let's dive right into an incredible story from ancient times. It's got everything: a terrifying prophecy, a paranoid tyrant, and a divine plan that spans the heavens and the earth. This is a tale where one single prediction sets off a chain of events that will change the world forever. It all kicks off with these 7 words. Imagine this. You're King Kamsa, you're all-powerful, and suddenly a voice from the sky, an Akshivani, tells you how you're going to die. And it's not in battle, it's not by poison, no, it's at the hands of the 8th child of your very own cousin, Devaki. That one sentence, it plants this seed of absolute terror in his mind. And trust me, it's going to grow into something monstrous. But here's the twist. Kamsa's first move isn't what you'd think. Before all the darkness, there's this unexpected moment of grace. It's a real test of a king's fear versus a father's integrity. So time passes, and Devaki has her first son, a little boy named Kirtiman. Now, her husband, Vasudeva, he's a man of his word. He had promised to bring every child to Kamsa. So he does exactly that. He walks right up to the tyrant and says, "As I promised, here is my first child." You have to admire that courage. And Kamsa, what's so fascinating is his logic. He thinks, wait a minute, the prophecy was about the 8th child, not the first. Yep, you heard that right. He was actually pleased. He was impressed that Vasudeva kept his promise. He looks at this tiny baby and thinks, what's the threat here? The Akashvani said the 8th child would kill me, so why worry about this one? And he tells Vasudeva to take the child back home. For a hot second, it looks like reason is going to win. But, Vasudeva goes home feeling relieved, but he's got to be thinking, a tyrant's mind can change in a heartbeat. And it does. Of course it does. That fragile peace is completely shattered by a single conversation. A visitor comes to town, and with just a few words, he's about to pour gasoline on the smoldering fire of Kamsa's paranoia. So who's the visitor? It's Narad Muni, a legendary sage who can travel anywhere, heaven, earth, you name it. And while he's chatting with Kamsa, he drops a bombshell. He tells him that the Devas, these celestial beings who are basically the sworn enemies of demons like Kamsa, are being reborn as regular people right there in his kingdom. And boom, that's the switch. Pleased is out the window and fearful takes over. Kamsa's mind just starts spiraling. Why would his greatest enemies be born among his subjects? He immediately thinks it's a conspiracy, a divine plot, and he decides that any of Devaki's children could be part of it. That decision to spare the first baby, suddenly it feels like the biggest mistake of his life. What happens next is just a horrifying, rapid descent into pure tyranny. That brief moment of mercy, it's gone, wiped away, and in its place comes this cold, calculated cruelty that leads to 6 unimaginable tragedies. His fear just eats him alive. First, he throws Devaki and Vasudeva in chains, locking them in a dark prison cell. Then, he does the unthinkable. He goes back, takes their firstborn, Kirtiman, and kills him without a second thought. And it doesn't stop there. His paranoia explodes. He starts persecuting his own people, the Yadavas, and he even throws his own father, King Ugrasen, in prison just for being their leader. Kamsa's cruelty became a horrifying, predictable cycle. The first child was gone. Then came the second, murdered moments after taking its first breath. The third was met with the same brutal fate, as was the fourth. And the 5th. And then the 6th. 6 innocent lives snuffed out. With every murder, Kamsa's heart just turned to stone. But here's the thing, even in the middle of all this horror, a higher power was at work. As Devaki became pregnant with her 7th child, the heavens were already preparing to step in. This was not going to be another tragedy. No, this was going to be a miracle. You see, this 7th child was no ordinary soul. Inside Devaki's womb was the divine essence of Sheshnag, the great cosmic serpent that the god Narayana himself rests upon. We're talking about a being of immense power. There was absolutely no way this child was going to fall into Kamsa's hands. So a divine plan gets put into action. The great god Vishnu calls upon his supreme power, known as Yogamaya, and gives her a 3-part mission. Step 1, go to the land of Gokul, where Vasudeva's other wife, Rohini, is living. Step 2, use your divine abilities to gently lift the essence of Sheshnag from Devaki's womb. And step 3, safely transfer that essence into Rohini's womb, where it can grow to term in secret. And the plan? It worked like a charm. Everyone, including a devastated Devaki and Vasudeva, was led to believe she had a miscarriage. And Kamsa, the tyrant, felt joy. He actually celebrated their suffering, thinking fate had done him a favor. He had no idea he'd just been outplayed by the cosmos itself. And far away in Gokul, Rohini gave birth to a healthy baby boy who would grow up to be known as Balaram. So this isn't just a dramatic story, right? It's packed with these profound lessons that are just as powerful today as they were thousands of years ago. Let's break down a couple of the big ones. First, think about the incredible power of words. Narad Muni probably didn't mean for all this to happen, but his words landed on the ears of a paranoid man and sparked an atrocity. It's a huge reminder to think before you speak. And then there's the power of action. That first murder Kamsa committed, it broke something inside him. It made the next one and the one after that easier. It's a perfect example of that slippery slope of evil. The story also gives us a really stark look at the nature of cruelty. When Kamsa felt happy about Devaki's supposed miscarriage, wow, that moment shows you just how twisted he'd become. To find joy in someone else's pain is shown to be a terrible, terrible sin. And by showing us that level of darkness, the story makes an incredibly strong argument for its opposite, for kindness, for empathy. And all of that brings us to one last thought to leave you with. In the face of unspeakable evil, while a tyrant was lost in his own darkness, a divine plan was already unfolding. A plan to save a life, to protect the innocent, and to make sure hope was never completely lost. So the question is, what does this ancient plan tell us about the nature of hope, especially in the darkest of times?